We have a question sent in here. This is from Francois Racine. He says, "I'm a big fan of Billy Talent. Having
Ah,
worked with them, are there any special stories about the band that you could share?" So I guess if you can share in what capacity you worked with them, I believe it was a
yeah.
live album. And then is there anything for the Billy Talent fan that you could give us that is not in the mainstream that we don't know about?
Hmm. So yeah, it was a long time ago. I feel like it might have been um 2009, maybe. I'd have to check. Billy Talent did. iTunes was Apple Music. iTunes was coming into Metalworks and doing sessions with artists called like it was like Billy Talent iTunes Live. So they would come into the studio, we'd set the whole band up, and they would play live off the floor and do like a couple full takes, no overdubs, no fixing or anything. They'd do a live in studio performance, and it would be like 4 songs recorded in one day and then mixed the next day, and then iTunes would package that up as I think they would call it like Billy Talent iTunes exclusive, and it would be they would intersperse some of their album tracks, some of these live recorded tracks that we did, and then some interview tracks that they would do at the studio on the spot as well. It was a cool little concept, and we did a bunch of those, and they were fun. They were a lot of work. Um, I believe Eric Ratz engineered and mixed that one. He did, in fact, yes, and he still works with Billy Talent um, to this day. Another engineer who I'm very fortunate to have gotten to work with because he's amazing at what he does. Um, and I guess what I remember from that session was Ian Desaw and Johnny, the bass player, out on the floor, and we were still getting stuff set up, and they had their amps going and stuff, and they were just standing face to face, and they're like, okay, let's go over this thing. Their third album had just come out. It was so the live tracks they did off that was from Billy Talent 3, which I think is such an awesome album.
Hmm.
Um, and they just stood face to face, like just 2 feet apart type thing, and um, just started like playing one of those classic Billy Talent lines. I can't remember what song it was from, and it was just one of those fast, intricate type of lines that they do, and they were so absolutely rock solid playing together in the air. It was just and I just remember walking right by them as they were doing that, probably carrying a microphone to go set it up somewhere and just doing a double take. Like, these guys are phenomenal. They're just amazing musicians. I've gotten to do some work with Ian and David Boswell as well for an organization called Make Music Matter. Um, and Ian plays guitar on a lot of the projects that have been done for that organization, and he's just an amazing musician. And he's got you know awesome gear. He's a guitar player. He's a guitar player. He's a total tone guy, and it's just cool to talk everything from like guitar strings to amps to pickups and all this stuff. You can go total guitar nerd with him, and yeah, I don't remember like I don't remember like a specific you know thing that happened or a funny moment or anything. I just remember being just like wowed by their musicianship, and I was like, yeah, no wonder these guys are who they are. They're just a killer band.
Hmm. Well, I think that's a cool moment seeing the guys jam. I think that's what
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Francois wanted to hear about. So that's cool. So Billy Talent is actually playing Ottawa in April. So Billy Talent with Rise
Oh
Against
cool.
and No Bro. So
Oh cool.
maybe
That's a good show.
yeah, we'll have to grab a ticket for that. And I wanted to ask you which band or artist were you the biggest fan of before working
Mm.
with them?
Um, the ones that come to mind that I would say I was well familiar with and truly a fan of before they came in would be Silverchair. There's a big Silverchair fan in that 90s phase. I mean, I love their
Frog Stomp 94 is like my top 10 albums of all time. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I love all their stuff. It changed over time, but I was here for it. I thought it was great. Placebo, I got into Placebo late, like maybe only a couple years before I left Edmonton. And they had like 4 albums out by that time. But there was one album of theirs in particular called Sleeping with Ghosts. Or was it the one before it? I don't remember. But
this is after they were big with Pure Morning. Like Pure Morning was the single that exploded worldwide. This is after that you got into them.
It was, and I got to play the Pure Morning guitar in the studio during that session. Their guitar tech was showing me their guitars, and he goes, check this one out, and he like handed it to me, and I put it on. He's like, just strum it, and it's just open tuned. And I one strum, and he's like, you know what guitar that is? I'm like, oh yeah, it's the Pure Morning guitar. This is really cool. But yeah, it was like 4 albums after that. I think it was the album Sleeping with Ghosts. I remember being out at a alternative club, and I mean like an actual alternative club in Edmonton called New City, and the on like Saturday nights it was the big club night, but they would play goth and industrial and punk and all this cool music, and a song came on, and I was like, this sounds like Placebo, but I don't recognize the song. And I was like, this is a kick-ass song. So I went up to the DJ booth and I said, hey, what song was that? I said, it's Placebo, and I think the song was called Bitter End or The Bitter End. And I was like, that's cool. Went out and bought the album, and I was like, you know what? I really dig this band now. And then they had one more album after that I really liked, and then it was the album that I got to work on. So that was a total thrill. And then I guess this is in chronological order. And then working with the Cranberries, it's like in that early 90s thing, right? They were huge, and great songs and catchy and all over the radio and everything. But Dolores's voice was just so unique, and it the way she expressed those lyrics. So, being a teenager, being a fan of the band and all that music of the 90s, and then, getting to work with them. And the producer of that album, the producer of all their big albums, Stephen Street, he, came over from London to produce that album. And, he's worked with, he's done like the Smiths and Morrissey and Blur and those big Cranberries records. So I was like, yeah, I'm like a fan of your work too. So I'd say Silverchair, Placebo, and the Cranberries were bands that I was a fan of before they came in and I got to work with them. There's others. I know I'm forgetting some others, but those were, I was the biggest fan, I would say, of those bands.
I just remembered when you talked about the Cranberries that back in the day, do you remember the Columbia House where it's like you'd order 11 CDs for like $1 and they'd send you 9 of them were the wrong album, and then you would send them back. Like you'd end up paying full price eventually because of all the mistakes. But I got I think the album was No Need to Argue. The one that had Zombie on it was like 94 or something. I remember having that album and it being pretty intense, for a young buck. I was like, this is crazy, man. These guys are awesome. And I guess a quick story. So was it the album Roses that was at Metalworks?
Yes. Yep.
So during that time, I remember walking through the studios to use the washroom, and suddenly it wasn't 2 bathrooms that were, guy or girl, it's for anybody. And then I remember one day I go and there's a woman's bathroom now. One of them is switched, and it was that, Dolores was recording and she preferred that there was a woman only bathroom. And I believe to this day, at least as long as I was there, it remained the woman's bathroom, influenced by her. And I'm sure all the women appreciate having their own space because of that.
I remember, I would have never remembered that had you not brought it up, but I think you're 100% correct. And I think she had some, her justification for it was, she's like, these guys, messy. Can I just have, a space just for the gals or something? Yeah, that's funny that you remember that. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's a completely it's a legit valid request, and anyways, I thought that was cool. And then the other thing was, there was one day where I got into metalworks, and I think at this point I was just like an assistant to some of the higher ups. This is before I did events and marketing and sales and all this stuff. And they said, oh, we have the Cranberries here, they're recording in the studio. They're like, here's a really good camera, can you go do a photo shoot for them? So I went in, like, I'm not a photographer, but I think they just wanted some fresh photos maybe of them. So I had like an hour with the Cranberries where I'm out in the parking lot taking pictures of them. I'm in the studio taking pictures with them. So I had just like an hour with them as this random dude with a camera. So that's that's awesome. These are just coming back to me. Like I forgot that this stuff happened, but then, as we're weaving a path with this conversation where we don't know where it's heading, it just kind of triggers these memories and these questions and these thoughts. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's the fun thing about, spending a length of time in one place doing one thing, is you gather a lot of cool memories for sure.
I've heard that one of the reasons why long form interviews and podcasts have become so popular is that because the two people that are talking, so you and I, because we don't actually know where this is headed exactly, that the audience feels that, and they feel like they're on this journey where all of us together are organically weaving through this adventure and this narrative and this story. And we all start together, then we kind of have no idea what's going on, and then we all end together. And it actually feels, as an audience, as a listener, it feels like they're a part of it, more so than watching a 10-minute interview on TV where it's edited and super polished. Do you think there's any truth to that?
100%. I think you hit the nail on the head with the word organic. Conversation is what is what we do as humans, right? That's the I don't know, that's kind of everything, isn't it? So I think it's great, and I for me, that's the most comfortable thing. I hope that I don't want to get on a kick about it, but I hope that younger generations, I don't even know what it's at now, like millennials are the old generation now, so I don't know if it's Gen Z, Gen whatever the labels are. I just hope that younger generations that grow up with technology don't lose the ability to just have a conversation, and express an idea, then listen and go back and forth. There's there's a tendency to just write everything or text everything, and there's no substitute for just human interaction. And even though I'm in Toronto and you're in Ottawa, this is still the exact same thing. So technology allows us to sort of bridge that gap. We're having a real-time conversation, ideas going back and forth. It's great. You would have to be, pretty much in the same room or have like a satellite uplink or whatever it was back in the day. But we can do this here now. But you're right. It is still just an organic conversation. And we know what we're talking about. We know what our sort of topic of conversation is. It's not like we're out having a beer and just shooting the shit about whatever. But at the same time, yeah, it's totally loose and organic. And I think because that's part of human nature to have just natural conversations, I'm not surprised that type of thing resonates with people and people appreciate that more. And yeah, we live in a time where everything is sound bites and edited, and no one trusts anything. So it's great to just have a conversation.
Do you remember the first time you heard a song that you recorded on the radio, or the first time you saw some of the albums you worked on the charts? And I know in recent times you've had singles that have gone to number one with certain bands and albums that have topped the charts, and maybe that's more frequent now. So do you remember the first time those things happened? And then do you still get a kick out of it happening now, or is that almost expected at this point?
Oh no, no, it's not, definitely not expected, and it's really fun to just randomly hear a song out there. I uh, I don't remember the first time. I remember on that Protest the Hero album, Fortress. Uh, I remember hearing when The Edge premiered the first single. And Protest the Hero is like intense music, so um, The Edge, obviously, it's kind of like the hometown hero type of thing, so they're obviously going to play this stuff, but that type of music is not in regular rotation on The Edge. So I thought it was really cool that the big corporate radio station in Toronto was premiering the song, and I'd heard these songs before because I was involved in the album. But I thought that was a really cool thing to hear it on the radio, and there have been many since. Just kind of driving around or out and about, and you hear something, and I go, "Oh yeah," it's just very cool. Again, I'm grateful that I get the opportunity to work with artists who are out there like that, who get their stuff out there. But when you asked that, it reminded me of I was in the big LCBO like last summer or 2 summers ago, in the big LCBO downtown. What's it called? Summerhill, the one that's in the big train station. It's just a gorgeous building, and I was just walking through it, and there was just music playing on the PA, and I stopped for a second. I was like, I know this song. I produced, recorded, and mixed this song, and it was a song by a band from Vancouver called The Long War, who had won the CBC Searchlight competition that year, and then they came out to Metalworks, and we did like an album in like 10 days or something with them, and I recorded, mixed it, helped them to produce it and everything, and it was just it was on a playlist, and that was playing in that LCBO, and I actually took up my phone and caught the very end of it. I recorded a video of the speaker in the ceiling, and you can just faintly hear it, and then I sent it to the band saying, "Hey, I just heard you guys randomly in the LCBO," and that was super cool. That put a big smile on my face, and I mean that's an album that I did start to finish with that band, and it was one of my favorite recording sessions of all time. It was just such a fun time, and they're such great people, and I love the work we did. So that was like, yeah, there was a sense of pride, gratitude, and just like good vibe, good feel from that, from things like that. So I love it. Yeah.